As we move to the third category, they say that the best is saved for the last. And this time I will not go by clues. For the first one at least, I would like to share a story. The story is about an institute. And as most of you are aware that we have been working with NHRDN for the B School ranking survey for last 6 years now, ever since inception. The story is about an institute where I went almost 6 years ago. And during the interaction with various stakeholders, I was expected to meet a gentleman, and I was ushered into his office by the PGP program coordinator, and I went into his office and I asked a couple of questions. And the first reply which came from the gentleman whom I was talking to, first tell me, are you from media or are you not from media? So I said, no, you can be rest assured I'm not from media. He said, okay, because had you been from media, my answers would have been different. But now since you are not from media, my answer would have been different. But then that institute was also privileged to have someone at the leadership role who transformed the entire institute during his tenure of 5 years. And even today, when we speak to people over there, they have such a great words about that person. And I'm referring to no one else but Dr. Rishikesh Krishnan, the director, IIM Indore. And the story which I shared was a truly transformational change in culture at IIM Indore. Let's have a big round of applause for him, as he is the first winner in the Change Maestro and Institutional Builder of the Year award category. May I request our chief guest, Dr. Ravi P. Singh sir, to give him the award. Rahul, if you can have the shawl also. I'd request Dwarka sir to kindly present the shawl as a token of our gratitude to Dr. Rishikesh Krishna. Let's have a round of applause for him, please. Now moving on to the next awardee of Change Maestro and Institutional Builder of the Year category. I've always learned while listening to Dr. Singh that a true leader is one who's able to give many leaders to the industry. And people always fondly talk about MDI, that MDI is one of the institutes which has perhaps given the highest number of directors to the Indian management education fraternity. But one more such name about whom hordes of people have shared about him being their mentor, role model, and owing it to wherever they are, to that one person is no one else but Dr. Rajan Saxena from SVKM University, Nasimunji. Let's have a big round of applause for him, please. Once again requesting Ravi sir, if you can please present him the award, and Dr. Singh, if you can please present the shawl on our behalf to Dr. Rajan Saxena. So we'll, after just these two people, we'll have all the winners over here. Now may I request Dr. Krishnan to please say a few words over here. Sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's a great privilege to receive an award on this platform. particularly since we have such luminaries involved in this process. It's a particular privilege to receive it at the same time as Professor Rajan Saxena, who was one of the founding directors of IIM Indore, which I had the privilege to lead much more recently. I just want to give you one simple story. I'll keep it as short as I can. Our chief guest was mentioning some things about the official language policy. So this just triggered some thought in my head. In 2014, when I joined IIM Indore, one of the first events that happened was that I had to appear before the Parliamentary Committee on Official Language. And at that time, I don't need to tell you what happened. It was a pretty miserable experience. And we got thoroughly castigated for not following any of the rules. One of the last events during my tenure as director of IIM Indore in the last week of December 2018 was that our internal official language committee felicitated me for the achievements during an official language during the 5-year period I was there. In fact, we had an inspection just a few months before, and that gentleman who came said that he has not seen any institute where official language has been followed that well. So this was the sort of, I think, changes that happened during the tenure I had in IIM Indore. And I just want to dwell on two things. Now, you might be thinking that I was pursuing official language very assiduously. This is very far from the truth. In fact, I spent very little time on this. But I think the most important thing was the 2 or 3 things we did. One thing we did was I very strongly promoted and supported an aspiration for excellence among everybody, including somebody like the Hindi officer. In fact, he personally gave me a shawl like this for my farewell. So I think that's the kind of at least the spirit I tried to encourage among all our faculty and staff. And the second thing which was very important to me, apart from aspiration for excellence, was to treat people with dignity. Because I think one of the biggest challenges in all our institutions is that we don't know how to treat people well. It's amazing if you treat people well, how much they will rise to the occasion. These are the 2 very simple principles that I try to follow as director of IIM Indore, and I'm really happy that a lot of this fructified very well. And I thank you once again for this honor. I particularly made it a point to come here because of Subrat. I'd like to mention that. There are all the other luminaries like Mr. Dwarkanath and Professor Pritam Singh, no offense meant to them at all. But I really admire the commitment with which Subrat has been organizing these events and taking his organization forward. So when he told me that they're giving me the award, I came for that reason. Thank you.
The chief guest of this function, Mr. Singh, my very dear friend, and somebody whom we have all admired, a person with whom I started my journey together, almost in management education, Dr. Pritam Singh, and one of the very distinguished management professionals in the country, Mr. P. Dwarkanath, with whom I've had the opportunity of interacting and sharing the platform on multiple kind of places itself, whether this was the All India Management Association, of many other kinds of bodies that I can think about. Mr. Subrat, the entrepreneur, the young entrepreneur, my colleague, Dr. Dr. Rishikesh, and the distinguished members of the audience. At the outset, I must say that I'm humbled by the decision of the jury, chaired by Mr. Dwarkanath, and which had some distinguished members like Dr. Pritam Singh. In fact, when I got a call from Dr. Pritam Singh, I was holidaying, and I was outside the country, and I just figuratively made out that there was some award that he was talking about it, and I just told him, I said, let me just return to India and I'm going to talk to you about it. And then when I returned to him and he told me about this award, I said, I'm truly humbled and honored. And I must say that today, there has been a very major kind of an activity back at the university, namely that of the Academic Council meeting, which you all know, those of you who come from the university framework, how critical it is. But two people who pulled me out from that, Dr. Pritam Singh and Mr. Dwarkanath. Thank you very much for this honor and privilege. I truly feel privileged receiving this award this evening. Well, change is a reality of life. Somebody said that. And one of the biggest choice that I had, and all of us have in life, and particularly that I had in the last 2 decades that I have led the institutions, whether it was at the IIM Indore, or it was SP Jain or NMIMS, more in the last 10 years that I have led this university, have been to be either be a passenger or make a difference to the institution. And more so, not just merely to the institution that I'm leading, but also to the society in which I'm operating. And that was one of the biggest kind of a question that I had. We all know that many a time people get the opportunities, but they just come in, they enjoy that kind of a title for a couple of years, for the term that they have been appointed, and possibly walk out into the sunset of their lives. I decided not to do so, and I certainly felt that there was a need to create a difference. That was one of the biggest kind of a driver in my life. And when I looked at it, that a very important part, and something that we talk about in MBA programs, and how relevant it is, that the dream that you have for an institution, and what this institution should be over the next couple of years, and over the generations, what it should be, that dream cannot be achieved unless and until the team within the organization, within the institution, is willing to commit to it. And so therefore, sharing that dream was one of the very, very important aspects in the entire journey of my career itself, of building the institutions itself. Therefore, almost about 14 disciplines within the university, from just one discipline of 3 disciplines at the time that I took over, and we're talking about 14 disciplines, and we're talking about 5 campuses. I think it is largely because of the fact that I have been fortunate to have had some of the great leaders who have worked along with me, and some great people to be working along with me. The faculty team's commitment, the staff's commitment to the entire cause has been extensive. And the last part that I wanted to just put it across to you all, and Pritam has been one of the great kind of contributors to leadership. I've learned a lot from his researches in terms of the transformations. But one of my personal kind of learning in this whole process was that many a time, we think about an individual only in a particular manner, or we view an individual in a particular manner only. He can deliver, he cannot deliver. So we put them in boxes, very, very clear. Interestingly, what I found was that there was a kind of opinion about some people, whether this was IIM Indore, or it was in SP, or it was in NMIMS, where people thought that there are some people who would deliver, and there are some people who just cannot deliver. What has been called as a Pygmalion, that was something which was there. You'll be surprised that the best performances many a time emerged from those whom we thought could never deliver. And I think it was only because of the fact that as an individual, as a leader, I looked at everybody in my team not with a colored glass, not with any of the kind of a reference to the individual of his background, but looked at what this particular individual can contribute. And today, what we have, believe me, it is not just merely those who were the stars in my team, but even those who were considered to be as not being capable of delivering. I believe that as an institution builder, if we are able to get out of this kind of a pygmalion and look at the teams without any kind of a frame of mind, but look at it from the point of view of their potential and get them to deliver, give them the opportunity to deliver, they are going to be delivering you some of the most outstanding kind of a performances. Ultimately, institutions are nothing but talent. They're not machines, they're not buildings, they're not a state-of-the-art kind of an infrastructure. We all build some state-of-the-art infrastructures, but we fail to focus on encouraging talent in terms of not just merely encouraging talent in our team, but also developing the team talent on a sustained basis. That is important. Once again, thank you very much, Shubrat, for inviting me, for giving me this award. And thank you very much, the jury of this conference, of this giving me this award. Thank you very much.